Okay, so we are going to talk about Firebase, how to set it up and use it. Has anybody used Firebase already? Except Doug, who's sitting over there, is advocate of Firebase. Cool, that's nice. So if you have any questions at the end of the presentation, feel free to ask me or Doug. He'll be able to even answer the questions. So this is me. My name is Sweety Bertilla. Sweety is actually my name. My mom baptized with that name. It's not my pet name. And I'm working as a senior Android engineer for Xfinity Home Security Hub for Comcast. And I like to swim, dance, and play badminton. It doesn't mean I'm an expert in it. And those are my Twitter and email IDs. Let's start. You'll be hearing this buzzword, Firebase, Firebase, Firebase. What is it? What is Firebase? So Firebase is a suite of services offered by Google to make your app easy in developing and managing your app. It also supports a variety of platforms, just not Android, but also iOS and web platform. So in this presentation, I'm going to cover 4 components which you can do Firebase with and control your app. One is remote config, and we are going to see how to do A and B testing with it. And another one is dynamic links, and another one is Crashlytics. The last one would be Robotesting using the test lab. So let's see how we can set up Firebase. If you're new to Firebase, you just go to the console, like console.firebase.google.com. Just click on Add Project and create a project space. So it means you're creating a Firebase project space where you can go and add your apps to it. Then add your app ID to the project. So it would be asking, do you want to add an Android app? Do you want to add an iOS app? Do you want to add a web app? So you can click on that and you can add. It doesn't mean you can add only one app. You can add how many ever apps to that project, but that will be holding inside that Firebase project console. And then once you start adding your app ID, it will give you a Google JSON services JSON file, so which would have all the IDs and whatever it requires. And you just download the JSON file and add it to your app structure. That's it. Now your Firebase will be able to talk to your app, and your app will be able to talk to your Firebase. Let's see here. So you go to console.firebase.google.com. It will tell you, do you want to add a projects. So once you click on add a project, you can give the project name. This means you're giving the project name for your Firebase project. Then you create project. Then it will give you if you want to add Android or iOS or web apps. And then you can go ahead adding it. If any time you that's how I added my project here. If any time you feel like, oh, I missed the download the JSON file, don't worry, you don't have to delete the app. You can go to your project space, in your project settings, it will give you the Google JSON file there too. So don't worry and don't delete and keep recreating. You can go to your project settings and get your JSON file, and you can add to your project. So now we are going to see remote config. So what is remote config? Say suppose you're working on this awesome feature, but then your product says, hey, hold on, you're not ready to release this feature. So what would be the solution? What would you do? You'll either comment it out or put it in a separate branch, and then the product comes and say, hey, we are ready to release the app. So release that feature. Then what do? You go uncomment your code or take it from the branch, and then you have conflicts, resolve that conflicts. Then what again you have to do? You have to release that app. So every time you have a new change, you have to release that app. What if you don't have to release that app, but you can remotely controlling a flag by setting it to true or false? You can add the feature and set it to false, and when the product comes and says, hey, we are ready to release a feature, you can just turn off the flag remotely without even releasing a Play Store version of the app. Isn't that cool? So you can do that with remote config. So what you can do is you can change your app features, appearances, behaviors. You can set the flags to enable or disable the feature. Most important is force upgrade. How would you tell a user, hey, force upgrade to your new version? There's no way to tell unless you release your app saying force upgrade to the previous version. You cannot do that. So you have to have a flag saying that if I send for this app version to force upgrade remotely, the user should be able to force upgrade and go to the Play Store and install the new app. And also you can do A and B testing to a target group of users. We'll see what is A and B testing is. So how do you set up? So you have already set up the project. So right now you have to add the library to your Gradle file, and then you have to set defaults. So what are these defaults? So remote config is a key and value pair. So you're going to say a key, say force upgrade, true or false. So this key value pair will be coming remotely. What if your API fails or your network is down? and you cannot able to get the response. So always you set a default in your local Cradle, in your local app, so that you don't get affected by the network failure. It'll be using your local Cradle, your local default value. Next is the cache expiration time. So what is cache expiration time is how often do you want to call the API? So I call the API now. Again, next, when do I want to call it? You can set either one day after a day, call the API to get the new values, or call after a week, or call after every hour to get the API values. So that's where you set the cache expiration time. And next is you can start controlling your app using Firebase console. So here is a reference document you can use to go and see how you can set it up. So right now, I'm going to show you a demo. So in this demo, we are going to play a small game where what I'm going to do is I'm going to have two values. One is a string and one is a Boolean value, true or false. So I'm going to show some clue images, which is going to say the TV series I was watching before and the TV series I'm watching now. And you're going to guess it for me. So one is my default values I'm going to set as TV series I was watching before. And then remotely, I'm going to change the values and see how it is getting affected in the app without even releasing a new app. So for that, I'm going to my XML file. I'm getting two values. So one is the TV series text, which I'm saying is TV series I was watching. And is it watching now? I'm setting it to false. And then in my activity in onCreate, what I'm doing is I'm getting an instance of the remote config. And then I'm setting the config settings. And you can see here, which says developer mode enable build config.debug. So why I'm setting this is, if I want to set the cache expiration to 0 and test immediately, my changes are getting reflected, I'm using this developer mode. That's what my app is also. The demo app is also having 0, so I can test my changes immediately. Then you're setting the defaults. And then here, the default cache expiration time, I've set it as 1 hour. And then for debug settings, I'm saying to 0, so that I can test it immediately, the changes. Then you call the API, and based on the success or failure, you can do however you want to do it. Let's see the demo. Okay. So can you guys, so you saw the TV series I was watching, text as here by default value, and I've set an image here. Can you guess this TV series? Anybody? Oh, cool. Yeah, it's Game of Thrones. So this is a game, this is an off button, and it's a throne. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my console. And I'm going to go to remote config. And I'm going to set some conditions. So two conditions I'm setting. One is the text we want to change, and what is the Boolean value we want to change. For that, I'm adding the application ID and my version. So this is my 1.3 is my app version. I've added it. I've set the conditions. Now I'm going to add my parameter. So one parameter was TV series text. Sorry. And let's set this. Series I'm watching now. I added this parameter. The next parameter was watching now, which was false. And now I'm going to add it to true. Sorry. Publish my changes. Let's see, I'm going to close my app and launch it because that's when I'm fetching the API call. Did you see a glitch happening in the remote config button? It's because I'm enabling the button only after API is successful. It doesn't have to give me a success or negative response, but after the API call is made is when I'm enabling the button. So you can, depending on your app feature, you can make a progress bar showing the whole page as progress until you receive it, or you can magically show this button blinking. You can work however you want based on your app feature. So right now, let's see. It worked. I didn't even release the app. I didn't even change my code. I remotely changed it. It's saying the TV series I'm watching now. Can you guys guess this TV series?
Westworld.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, for who don't understand, it's West, and this is a world map. Yep.
So is that a poll mechanism only, or can you push the
you can push the changes to. This code doesn't have, but you can, from your code, you can add values and you can push them as well. You can create a hash map. Instead of remote XML file, you can create a hash map as well in your code, and you can push it to the remote config. Cool. So next one is, so we did talk about cache expiration. So we have to be careful about this cache expiration time we are setting. We said that 1 hour. For example, I set my cache expiration as 1 hour. And I'm saying like update my app. So you think you go to the Play Store and you update the app, then you think my cache is reset. No, it doesn't get reset. Until the cache expiration term is met, the value is not reset. So for example, here you can see I have a force upgrade value is true, and my app is 1.7.2, and it's telling you have to force upgrade this app. So what it does is it's taking to the Play Store, and the person went and installed the app, and still the person, if the cache is not expired, even though you can see down here, it is 1.8.0, it is updated, but still it is showing force upgrade your app because the true value still exists until the cache is expired. So this is going to affect an app. That too, the home security app which I'm working, I'm not allowing the user to use their app. It's going to be a big challenging thing for us, and the users are going to complain. And once the cache is expired, it's going to show the right one. What if you use an int or long? Instead of using a Boolean value, what if you use an int or long? Here, what I'm doing is I'm passing the app version number. So once I pass the app version number, once I go and install, cache is expired or not, inside my app, I'm going to check. So I'm going to check, hey, is the app version equal to or lesser than 1.7.2, then update my app. But right now, my app version is 1.8.0. So it's going to show the right results for me. So you don't have to worry about it. So when you're using Boolean values, be careful how it's going to affect your app and use the right values for that. Next one is we are going to see A and B testing. So what is A and B testing? Let's see. Do you guys agree this is cute? Yes? Yeah? Will you, if you're buying a pet for someone, will you buy this cat and give them? Yes? Yeah? What about now? Which one is cuter? Confused? You can try A and B testing, where one could be a part of a control group and one could be a variant group. So what you can do is you can group the people into a control group, saying control group use this one and variant group use this one, and tell me which, and get the results back in the Firebase console and know which one better to use. What if you have more variants? You can do that too. You can have one control group and you can have different variants. You can keep adding variants and you can get result from your Firebase console. So you remember when I was showing a demo, you saw that my button was red color. The remote config button was red color. Why is it red color? Because I was trying A and B testing. I was trying some color, different colors for the button, background color. I'm seeing what result it's going to give me. How many users are using that color? So before that, you want to create an experiment. You have to go to the Firebase console, create experiment, and set your control and variant values, and also your goal metrics. So if suppose in this button color, I'm looking, goal metrics will be user engagement. How many users are clicking on this button? But if you have some ad, you can check the ad revenue. So which ad is giving me more revenue? So those kind of results you can get it. So here you can see in the console, which I created is the button color. And I have checked the details. I have created 4 color values. I'm saying red, blue, green, and yellow, and every 25%. So certain group take 25%, and the other group 25%. So the total of users, it's going to divide into 25% and going to update with them that color. And this is how it's going to give me the results. It's saying these are the users. Since I've given very less, I just installed in a couple of devices. This is not giving the right result. But if you have 1 million users, you would know which user are engaging on the specific one. Any questions so far? Yeah.
Sorry, so how did you measure the success? Was it with the...
Okay, so here, this is the user. So it's telling 2 users have installed it. But if you have 1 million, the statistics will be much better. So here, telling 2 users have used control group, 3 users have used variant A, B, and C. And when you go here, when you click on this, see, they're saying only 50% of the users have clicked on this. Could you see the 50% here in the middle? and it's saying it's only 50%. But when I take variant A, it's telling 100% of users have used it. When you take variant C, it's telling 100%. This will be more accurate when you have more customers. Like you can see the difference, like 75, 80. So in that, you'll know which one has more engagement to the users.
But you're measuring it with the conversion of that?
I'm sorry?
You're measuring it with the conversion of that?
Yeah, user engagement. How many users have clicked on that button? So I have a button which is red color. So how many users have clicked on it? Basically, I installed everything and clicked on everything. My fault. Probably I should have left something not to click. Probably only for this one I didn't click. Yep.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed it. How did you distribute the variance again?
25%.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you have
You can change it. So I can say control group have 50% and all others divided between that 50%. So it will divide it and it will give you.
it just randomizes which users it
Yes, it randomizes. You cannot pick the users. Any other questions? Okay, let's continue. So this is my code. So since I'm using the remote config to do this, I'm having a default value button color. And also I'm checking if it is blue, set blue, it is red, set blue. So which I'm getting from the Firebase console, set those values, and it's going to get me the metrics. And the other thing is, once you're done collecting this metrics, you have to go and clean up your code, because this is going to stay forever, which you don't need it. Next thing is dynamic links. So why do we need dynamic links? It's you want to access your app outside your app. For example, you have a retail app, and someone is going to a site and buying some shoes. And you say, hey, you know what? Click on this link or click on this QR code, and you can go and buy in this app which has better shoes. You can say like that, or you can say, click on this app, and you can deep link into your activity somewhere saying, I will give you 20% off if you use this QR code. So you're using your app and advertising it outside your app. Sorry. So here, the good thing about using dynamic links is if your app is not installed, it will install your app and it will even take you to the deep link page without, it survives app install. If the app is installed, it will automatically take you to the deep link page. So let's see how we can create a one. So you can go here and click on dynamic links. I've already created two. You can click on a new dynamic link, and it will create here. So you can tell your dynamic link URL what you want to be. So I can say demo.firebase.com, something like that. It should be HTTPS. And then you can give a name for this. I'm just giving Firebase. Then it's asking, how do you want to open it in iOS? So there's a QR code, and somebody goes and scans in iOS. How do you want to open it? I don't have an iOS app. So I can say, just open the link in a browser. So you can click that. And then in Android, how do you want to open it? So I can say, open the deep link in my app. Because my app ID is this, I want them to open my app, not just a URL in the browser. And if says, if suppose the app is not installed, how do you want to handle it? Do you want to open in a Play Store? I don't have my app in Play Store. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on a custom URL, and I can give any custom URL I want. I can just say, go to google.com. Or you have to specify which URL you want to redirect to them. And after that, you can click on create, and it will click create. And also you can add more social meta tags saying, like we talked about shoes, do you want a coupon, use this coupon to get a 25% off. Those things you can create it here. So look, like I have created two. One is just welcome link, and one is a movie link. So right now you're going to guess a movie for me. So for that, first let's check the welcome link. This will just launch my app. And next is the movie link, which is going to launch deep inside my activity, where I'm going to show you a clue image where you're going to guess the movie. Let's first see the code. First, in your manifest file, you have to define the scheme. Remember, we gave a deep link URL in the deep link site in the console. That's what you have to give here. So you have to say demo.firebase.com, because that's what I gave. But if you're giving something else, you will define it here. And you have to say how the scheme is it HTTPS or HTTP? And after that, in your activity, what I'm trying to do is I'm calling the dynamic links instance. And once I get the pending dynamic link URL, I'm checking if it contains movie because the second one I created has a movie in the link. So if it's movie, I'm telling go to a different activity. So let's test it. So here I have the link already. So one is this welcome link. Let's see if it is taking me to the app. Yes, it took me to the app. So this could be a QR code which is deep linked. And let's see the other one. This is where I'm saying I added a meta tag saying this is a guessing game and can you guess the movie? So once I click on this, it took me to the deep linked activity inside my app. Can you guys guess this movie?
Ready Player One.
Come on, next time you're not playing. You're not giving options for others. So this person is ready, and this person is a player, and this is one. Next time you're not playing. Okay. Any questions so far in dynamic links? Nope. Okay, cool. So next is Crashlytics. So your app, if it's a huge app with so many features, of course it's going to crash. And when it's crashing, and it's only crashing on a specific device, and you cannot have a stack trace, you'll be like, what happened? I cannot fix it. What if you could get a stack trace, and not just stack trace, with all other information which helps you to debug? So that's how Firebase Crashlytics is going to help you with. So the Crashlytics, it gives you a stack trace, that is from where it crashed and the list of stack, and breadcrumbs. So breadcrumbs is nothing but it will give you the flow of from where it came. Like from activity A, I clicked activity B in the session and then went to activity C and then it crashed. So it will give me, you started with activity A, then B, then C. That's where, so it will be helpful. For example, if you have like couple of like fragments and you're passing value through different fragments, that way you can know, okay, from this fragment I came, that's why it crashed. So it will give you breadcrumbs. And then you can add logs to it, and that logs, it will give you stack trace of that. And then insights. Insights is a very cool feature where it will help you to debug your issue. If suppose there is already somebody submitted a question in Stack Overflow, it will link you to that Stack Overflow question, so you can go and see the fix for that. Is it pretty cool, right? Next one is mute. Mute is what you can use is, if suppose there is a defect, crash happen, and it's already logged in Firebase console, and you say, hey, okay, I know this is logged, I'm not going to fix it, so in the newer version, don't open a new defect, because there's already a defect open, and I'm not going to fix it right now. But there's already a defect being tracked in it, so don't open it. For that, you can use mute, and you can close this, I have fixed it. So close this, and if it is reproducible, create a new defect. So that's where you can use close. And then it will also give you device information. So what device is, so you can collect those logs as well. So the reports, what kind of crash reports can we collect? You can collect opt-in. Opt-in is, if you add the library file to your Gradle, it will automatically collect crashes wherever it's happening. But for say example, you want only in a specific activity. In activity A, if it is crashing, give me those logs. Then you can say opt-in. In our example, we have trial customers and production customers. So since we are implementing this new Firebase Crashlytics, we don't want to implement on production customers. So what we did is we opt-in to only use for trial customers. You can do that as well. Then custom logs. You can create custom logs. You can say crashlytics.add extra logs. You can add that, and it will show you in your trace. Next is custom keys. You can add some key pair values, so you know which key value crashed the app. Next one is non-fatal exceptions. So the crashes will automatically get recorded. What about the non-fatal? Like you try and catch an exception, you can still log that as well. Next one is user ID. So you can create specific user sessions for each user, and you can collect those logs as well. Let's see a demo about it. So previously we did TV series and movie. This time let's do a restaurant, and he's not playing. So I clicked on Crashlytics button. Can you guys guess this restaurant? Oh, cool. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and book a table. It crashed. So let's go and see what crashed it. So I go look in the Crashlytics in my console. it gave me 2 crash reports. So I'm wondering what was the first one. First one is giving a null pointer exception, but I didn't crash my app. Why? Because I have a code here for non-fatal. What I'm saying is when you clicked on the first button in the overview activity, I'm doing a try catch and I'm catching it, and I'm saying crashlytics.log exception. So I'm telling even though you catch the exception, still log it. That's how I got this null pointer exception. And the other one was activity not found. So that's why it crashed, because when we clicked on book table, what happened is it's actually launching another activity called book table activity. But this book table activity is not registered in the manifest file. So it has crashed. So now I know why it crashed, because it's saying, hey, activity is not found. Did you declare this activity in your manifest file? Oh, I forgot to declare it. That's why it crashed. So now I know that. And in the logs here, it's giving me the breadcrumb saying you started with Crashlytics activity. And then I added a custom log button table, book table button clicked. You can see in my code, I added this crashlytics.log. That's how it is showing in my breadcrumbs. So I can get custom logs in my breadcrumbs as well. And as I said, you can go and do filter. So I can filter based on my app versions. I can filter based on crashes or non-fatal exception. I can also filter based on the state open, closed, or muted, or insights, and device information or operating system. So you can filter based on how you want to look into the crash logs. Any questions on this? Cool. Yeah.
So if you log something in like a catch block, you could log multiple things in there?
Yes.
Multiple variables?
Yes.
Okay.
So that will be helpful. So here I didn't know which crashed it. For example, I have different buttons and I don't know which crashed it. So I have logs for different button clicks. So I know because of this button it crashed. Then I can go and analyze the problem better. And also it automatically captures for activity. You don't have to like add a log for activity like crashlytics.log. But for fragments, it doesn't automatically log them. So for fragments, you have to go and add. You have to say crashlytics.log.fragment name or however you want to log it. Next one is we are going to talk about is robotesting. You might think robotesting is a unit testing or is a robo-electric testing, since the name is a little bit confusing, but no, it's an automation testing. So you can automate your test using robotesting tool in Firebase. It has more advantages of monkey testing. If you don't know what monkey testing is, what it will do is it will just go click on your app everywhere to make it crash. So it doesn't click on a specific item. Instead of that, it just clicks on all the places in the app. But robot testing, it will analyze, oh, this is a button. OK, I have to go and click on it. This is a text. I have to see whether this is working fine. Something like that, it'll click on the useful information in your activity. So what are the advantages of this is you can create your own, the scripts can be auto-created by Firebase. So you can do is go to Android Studio, Tools, Firebase Test Lab, and record RoboScript. So you connect it to your device or your emulator and start clicking on the flow. It will actually record it for you. So you don't have to even create scripts. It will create it for you, and you just go and upload it to your test lab in console. It will run that script, and it will see how this will be very useful for your QA where a crash has happened on this flow. So you record that script, and with the fix, you can give this test with this APK. So they don't have to create the script. They just have to run it in the test lab. It will go and say that, OK, this test passed. And you can also see the different metrics in it. And other thing is it gives you daily 5 physical devices and 10 virtual devices to test for free. But you can update. If you want to test on more devices, you can update them. Be careful while you're using it, because sometimes you might select a device which is of lower version, which your app is not supported. It will still pick it up. It will not run the test, but it will consider as your daily quota. So you have to be careful while you're picking up your devices. The only drawback is it only supports native UI elements. So if you have a web element or a web page in between your app, it will not support that. So the flow will be stopped there. Probably if Doug can explain if it's possible to go beyond it and test it, because our app starts with a login page, which is a web page. So after that, I cannot even test anything beyond that. So it'll be useful if we have a way that we can select a specific UI elements and test them. So that's the only drawback I've seen in it. Let's see the one I have run. So you go to Test Lab, and you click on Run a Test. It will tell you what test you want to run. You click on Robot Test, and you upload your APK and your script. You don't even have to upload your script. It will do the testing. But if you want a specific flow, you can upload the script. So here you can see some of my tests which I've already done. It's failed. Let's look at one of the success one. So I used a pixel. So it will give me the flow of the activities which I tested. It will give me the logs, so I can even debug. It will give me the screenshots of my flow. It will even give me a video on how it was executed and what was the device version. And it will give me the performance. So I can even compare the performance, the CPU, memory, and network performance. Any questions on this, robot testing? Sure.
So the script that you record and upload, are you able to pull that down and run it locally again if you want to?
Run it locally in the sense?
Yeah, so I'm a developer. There's been a script that's recorded. It fails, and so I need to reproduce it. So if I wanted to like run it locally on a local emulator, is that tied into? I guess I'm trying to figure out if I could run that locally on like my local workstation.
I'm not aware of that. Probably if Tug can answer it.
So if you generate an espresso script, you can run that locally. So with Tesla can only run a robo script, like this JSON browser. That's not for local testing. That's only for cloud testing.
Okay.
If you generate espresso, you can run it.
Great. Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. So we pretty much covered everything. So only thing I wanted to add is when you're creating a project and if you're adding multiple applications to it, be careful who has access to it. Because we had all the applications added to one project, and then we gave QA access, and when they were playing with remote config, one of the remote config actually went to the production user. So we don't want the production users to be affected when you're testing it. So the best thing would be create a different project, Firebase project for your QA build, and give it to the QA. So there they can add the app versions and they can test it. Any questions? That's it, all done. Thank you.